Hi, my name is Bernice Ramsdin-Firth, and I'm going to be reading a passage from my book, Once Upon a Future Earth. It's set in the future. It's at a time when we have really done nothing about climate change, and things have deteriorated to the point where life is very difficult. The story is about two young people who are trying to navigate through this world. It's not a story that, it's not a downer, it's hopeful, because I believe the human spirit will carry us through in spite of all the problems that we have. And this passage is about Suli, and she has, at this point, they're building a raft, and she's looking for things for the raft, and they're always looking for food. And they have her and Perry, they have on the way, they have a baby that they picked up that had been abandoned, and she's only about 13 and Perry's about 15. So life has become quite complicated. At this point, she has on one of her little journeys around looking for things that's needed for them, she has gone into town, into the city, and so I'll just read this passage to you. It had been 7 days since they had found their double-hulled cat. It was nearly ready for the crossing, and Suli felt restless, went for a walkabout in case she had missed something they could use. As his eye was still healing, she left Rufus, who is their dog, with Perry and set out with Arthur on her back, taking Chloe and Fussy for company. Fussy is a goat. She felt relaxed, and though on the lookout for wolf dogs since arriving, they had neither seen nor heard anything to concern them. Even so, she took her spear and bolus with her, not daring to go too far on her own. She peered over parts of old walls and into dried-up gardens, but saw only more ruin and debris. She thought of the people who had lived here. Who were they? What had happened to them? Her grandfather had told her of a giant quake when his father was young, but she wondered if it was the terrible sickness that came afterward that killed them all. Though the city was certainly destroyed by something bad, it was all such a puzzle. As she moved down the heaved roads and torn up streets, a few edible plants caught her eye. She put Arthur down to play in some sand and gathered the plants, stuffing them into her satchel. Chloe was sniffing about, while Fussy chewed on weeds. She saw no other signs of life, other, that is, than the ubiquitous rats scurrying through the rubble. She thought she heard a strange huffing sound, but again she saw nothing. Keeping an eye on Arthur, she carried on gathering plants. She didn't notice Chloe's nose twitching. Her satchel filled, it was not yet dark when she was ready to return to camp. She went to pick up Arthur, but before she reached him, she heard Chloe growling deep in her throat, and then a smell of rotten meat assailed her nostrils, making her skin crawl. A slight hiss made her turn. Squatting behind her, saliva drooling from its jaws, a huge black reptile with large yellow eyes flicked its tongue at her, as if this sensitive organ smelled the scent of prey. Suli had often seen small lizards scampering among the rocks and caught them as she could. But this was a giant, bigger than anything she had ever seen before, about 3 meters long from head to tail. Chloe's growl rose to a high whine. Turning suddenly toward the cat, the huge reptile made a dash for her with a speed Suli wouldn't have thought possible for so heavy an animal. "Run, Chloe, run!" she yelled, forgetting the cat couldn't hear. But Chloe wasn't to be so easily caught. She leapt straight into the air and raced away into the rubble. Arthur's eyes were like saucers. "Sue-Sue!" he cried, reaching for her. But now, only a few feet away, the reptile was between Suli and the baby. It turned to stare at him. "Get away from him, you filthy beast!" Suli screamed, frantically looking for her spear. but it was on the other side of the huge creature. And even as she tried to reach Arthur, she had seen how fast it could move. She had to make a distraction. Dancing forward, she threw her bolus, curling it around the animal's heavy neck. With an angry hiss, it made for her, twisting on its own body length so quickly she barely had time to jump out of the way. She scooped up her spear and with a mighty yell threw it with all the force she had in her, transfixing the animal through the heart and sending it rolling over in the dust. But without waiting for its struggles to diminish, she picked up a large rock and crushed its skull.